Welcome to the Kodaris Community Show with your hosts, Tony and Margaret, and the occasional friend stopping by. This is the podcast where we explore how innovation and technology is reshaping distribution and the supply chain as a whole. Discover how technology is making companies more efficient and profitable, making their customers happier, and is paving the way for our future. Join us for insights from industry experts, interviews with innovators, and actionable ideas to stay ahead in our rapidly evolving world. Today, we're joined by Jeremy Ott, Director of E-commerce and Digital Marketing at Reinders. Here's our conversation. Jeremy, we're so happy to have you here with us today, and we're going to have a really interesting conversation around how you were able to affect change management within Reinders and get your team to adopt a CRM, which is notoriously hard to get a team bought in on. So thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, happy to be here. Excited to talk about this. It's an exciting topic, especially for me and Reinders. And so, yeah, happy to. There's a lot of things that we've done and a lot of fun things. So thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I want to touch just on one topic. First, Reinders was an early adopter of Kodaris, and Jeremy was part of that early adoption of the entire Kodaris platform, and Reinders has been a great partner of ours since I don't know, going back 3 years, 4 years, when we were very early on. So Jeremy and Robin and the team have been, I guess, innovators looking at newer solutions, what's different, wanting to take some risks, and have been great partners and not only innovating with us, but spreading the word about Kodaris and whatnot. So kind of as we talk about this topic, and Jeremy can give a little background if you want, but they've been adopting pieces of Kodaris for going on 3 years or 4 years. The CRM piece that we're talk about was mostly purpose built with distributors. I don't know, going back 5 years now. We didn't really set out to build a CRM. We had some customers who said, "Hey, can you put in this piece for me? This is all I need. I don't need a sales force. I don't need a full blown." And it's evolved probably over the last 3-4 years to be 1,000%, and we keep adding pieces as customers innovate with us. I think what was interesting was Reinders was already using several pieces of the platform, but really had no exposure to this part of it. And then Jeremy explored it, worked with it a little bit, and then today we're going to talk about that journey kind of adopting it and working with us to add pieces he might have needed. But also, look, I tell customers change management is the difficult part, the people, not the technology. We can build something, release it, you're done. Then actually changing business process, people's habits is always a challenge. So, I think one, it's not even so much about the product today. It's about the product maybe assisting people change management and strategy for change management, because we're all facing it, whether it's distributors, whether it's tech companies. Every human being who works for a company and the company is changing to adopt technology or move with the market, it's just constant now, and it's constant change management. So anyway, I'll let you let's jump in, but I just want to make sure the audience knew the point of reference of where we're coming from. You can add to that, Jeremy, and tell everybody how much you love me. But
Yeah, no, that was great. No, I appreciate it, Tony. We've been working with Tony and the Kodaris. I can't believe it's been a number of years already. Just honestly, it feels like we just signed with you guys and started working. No, we've felt like over the last couple of years we've used a lot of different pieces of the platform, and just with our integrations and the multiple sites that we're running, we've been fortunate to be able to use I would say, trying to get into almost all the pieces of Kodaris. And the CRM piece was something of interest to me, and I found I had a task or a goal to achieve, and was looking at all the different ways to achieve that goal. And one was right in front of me, which was the Kodaris CRM, and the tools that both the desktop and the app allowed us to do. So our initial goal was I needed to find a solution to allow our sales reps to enter orders on behalf of customers. It started very, very specific, where we have this time of the year where sales reps enter early orders, these big, large early orders, and the sales reps handhold them, and this is like their bread and butter. And so it was meant to be just for one specific segment of our business that does these early orders. Um, and so, um, we still have a drive. We're still continuing to push customers to enter order themselves, but also looking for, this sales enablement tool, this tool to help customers. And so I started looking at the Kodaris platform. We actually had tested with a different segment of our business, getting some CSRs into the Kodaris platform, entering orders. And I was like, this works for some CSRs. Let's see if I can get this to work for some sales reps. And then it just evolved from there. It was like, oh, what else can I do? What else can I ask Tony that I could do on the Kodaris platform? How else can we make this almost like a full service platform for our sales reps? And so I and I'm probably notorious for this, of going past the initial scope and finding what else we can do. But I saw the order entry was there, and then it just talking with the Kodaris team and saying, well, did you know you can look up pricing? Did you know you look up inventory? Did you know you could look up customer information? We have all this stuff pulling right from our ERP. And I was like, no, let me take a look at that. And so I was given a deadline of this was August, late August of 24. So I'd started it about 3 months prior to that, and given this deadline of, hey, we need this here in place by the end of August. So um, started investigating the platform myself, with the help of my e-commerce team, looked at all these features and functionalities, and then started putting together almost like my RFP. What do we need to roll this out, and what can we roll out by the end of August? And then I think we just hit the pavement, where when I looked at this for talking about the change management and how can I get the buy-in from our sales force? What is the best way to do this? And I learned through all the years of rolling out the website, rolling out replatforms, different technology, that you can't just force people to do something, or you can't just tell them, hey, do this. You need investment from people that are actually working in the field and actually doing it themselves and using the tools. So I took the approach of I reached out to about 5 different sales reps. And how I selected these sales reps was, one, through personal relations, guys that I knew that I could talk to that would be open to beta testing for me. But then I also chose a couple guys that use our Infor CSD platform quite regularly. And so I took this approach because some of these guys use CSD to pull the same information that we get from Kodaris, and some guys don't have access to the ERP currently. So finding guys and that use CSD and showing them how good these tools are and how effective it is, that you have both sides to train others. You have the guys that have never used the ERP before and some guys that have. And it just, in my opinion, it would look really great to have both sides of the street come together and say, look how good this platform is. And so sat down with them for about 2 months, worked through all the different, did multiple trainings with these 5 reps, did multiple trainings, had them test things, try it out for me. We worked with Kodaris, we made it better. And then finally, fast forward to August, we had all of our reps in for a sales meeting. I talked to the sales manager and said, hey, I need a couple hours. Ended up being like 2.5 hours, I think, 3 hours of this training that we did. but it wasn't like put you to sleep training. It was hands-on. The whole sales team was interactive. And what I did is I had the sales reps that were doing this beta testing for me actually lead different sections of the desktop CRM and the mobile app of the Kodaris app. And I think moving forward, a lesson learned is that I need to do that with everything, because the buy-in, the interactions, actually watching the presentation was there. And it's something that was really cool to see when you step back as the guy that wants to present it, and you see that when you have other people presenting it and you see the nods and you see the, going on their phone or desktop trying to get there already, well, and they don't even have logins and they're trying to get there. That's the excitement that I think was really cool and helped this change in process, giving sales guys another new tool, a third tool. They have all these tools and giving them, oh, here's another tool. But that, I don't think that was the response, and that wasn't the reaction. And it was really cool to see. And, by the end of the demo, I think the demo took about, I don't know, maybe like an hour to get through everything, the desktop and the mobile app. By the end, everyone was like, all right, enough talking, get me in there. And we didn't leave the room until everyone was signed in and using and testing it out. I checked in with the sales manager and a couple of sales reps a couple days later. And it was just nothing but positive feedback. And then I went one step further to log into Kodaris and look at all the last logins, and everyone had logged in and kept logging in, and that was the best part. That was really cool to see.
Trust but verify, right?
Yes. And, today, just being, months and months later, I just checked right before we got on the podcast here, and so now I've rolled it out to all of our outside sales force at Reinders, and we have about 85 employees inside of Kodaris now, and about 75 to 80% of them have logged in within the last week to week and a half. I mean, it's awesome, and they're constantly checking pricing, availability through the app, looking up order information, and just honestly using it to help them, close deals, help them be faster, get information to their customers faster. And it's just, yeah, it's been great overall.
Yeah, let's rewind that a little bit. I think there's several interesting points there. One, going back to the beginning, it's a common challenge that Kodaris has is there's so much in the platform, customers don't even know we have it. And so it's not uncommon for customers to come to us and say, I'm thinking about this, what do you have or in the platform? Because, releasing thousands of updates a year, it's hard for customers to keep up, let alone even, Kodaris employees on what's changing.
I'll plus one that.
So I think that's greater that, that it worked, a piece worked someplace, and then you kind of built on that. But also there was, for your team, there was improvements that they felt they needed, or you felt they needed to get that adoption. But before we dive into that, the whole CRM's interesting. It's supposed to be customer relationship, but something like 80% of CRM rollouts fail because it's many times it becomes about the sales reps doing things so the sales managers know what they're doing, not necessarily servicing the customer better. I think a unique difference, and when people come to us and say, hey, I need a CRM, I want to see a demo of your CRM, which we never gave Jeremy a demo. He just played with it, adopted it.
Threw him to the wolves.
Yeah.
What you described as a success there at the end, tying it beginning to end. Sales reps can sell more. They can do more with their customers. The whole idea behind everything we have tried to build in the CRM is not about it's obviously about selling more, but it's about the human interaction of what they need to actually sell more, not collecting data that they have to go ask your customer these 5 questions. I need to know this, put this in. What, and while a summary of call notes is great, sometimes some companies don't need that. They just, hey, I was on site with the customer. I need to put in a quick order, or he's going to call the branch, but he needs to know his price now because he's got to tell his purchasing manager. I think that's the unique thing. I'm first to tell people, hey, we're not a Salesforce. If you're looking for a Salesforce, don't come to us. That's not. But we do have something purpose built for distributors. Um, and I think their own unique way. I think this CRM has improved. I mean, through your journey, we also were able to improve things. But what was that feedback cycle like, I guess, from, hey, I think my reps need this to get this adoption, or what's a little bit about that, how you came back to us? And I know there were several iterations. Where in that journey of I'm thinking about adopting more, or did you get feedback direct from your early adopters and then the field? I can't remember how many improvements we made to the mobile app for you, but
Yeah, I think initially starting the journey, um, I would say I felt confident that most of it was there. That if I had to roll out that day, we could make it successful, but there were other things to really get the full adoption. And that came directly from feedback from the sales reps, from the beta testers, from the guys in the field. And a lot of it for our guys, um, honestly, a lot of it was focused around what pricing information they could get at their fingertips. And so with Reinders, how we do the pricing and what sales reps can have access to, they needed to see replacement cost, average cost by warehouse, the customer specific pricing, and the inventory across all warehouses all in one view. Um, and the current, I looked at the current functionality that Kodaris had, and it was there. I just think we just wanted to get even more. We just wanted to show even more information, and so that was one of the cycles of, could we have launched? Probably, but how can we launch to get more adoption? And so we just added this big chunk to the pricing check, to the price check screen on the Kodaris screens that show all those things that I listed off. And then the feedback went from, yeah, it's good, to this is amazing. This is awesome. This is what I'm looking for. And so in looking back at it, delaying a couple weeks, in my opinion, was worth it, because you have a better opportunity to get more people, and then you have that wow factor, that sitting in that room watching the demo and seeing, man, I can do all this and get all this, and it's both on the desktop and then the app. And so I think a lot of the stuff, Tony, that we did with you guys was, hey, how do we get it? Let's get on the desktop first, because that's going to be the main bread and butter that people work on when they're at home on their laptops. And then we continue to trickle to the app. So that was a big piece. There was some things around like the order entry. And like Tony said, never got a demo of the order entry. Just kind of went in there and was like, all right, well, I'm going in. I know how to use CSD. I know how to enter orders. I had my e-commerce team lead help me out. She's very versed in CSD, Kristen. And so then, I had her look at it, and it's just 2 screens. So much easier than CSD. So that was a no-brainer to sell, because it's like, hey guys, and like I go back to my first statement, why I picked a person that was versed, a sales rep that's versed in entering orders in CSD, because I want them to see how fast and easy it is to enter in Kodaris on the fly versus the steps that you have to take sometimes in your ERP. And so the order entry, minimal modifications to that. And then honestly, company information, I don't think we modified at all. And so uh, handful of iterations of, back and forth thing. I think honestly, it was just more training. It was just me asking questions to the Kodaris team, like, all right, I think I know how to do this. How do I do this? And then we make some tweaks, but it was very fast. It wasn't like, hey, Kodaris team, you know, let's take 3 months to do this. It was like, hey, I got this. How can we do this? I need to launch this by August. And so it was challenging the Kodaris team as well, I think, to say, hey, I got a deadline of the end of August. I need to roll this out. And so, with that on too, we kind of like, I guess the iteration process was focusing on this project, but then what else can we do with Kodaris? And so like tickets just kept adding on top of it, the more things I found. And we actually switched from sending out all of our online order confirmations from our e-commerce platform through out of Kodaris. And that was part of this sales rep, this rollout, because we needed order confirmation emails to send out when sales reps were entering through Kodaris. And so it wasn't just one project. It evolved into, hey, I need to pull this project that's been on my backlog and bring it into here to make this fully successful.
I think that's touching on the. I think that's a point to dwell on just for a minute, touching on the wow factor, right? Because we talked about change, how hard it is for us to change, and as a tech company, as an longtime engineer, um, that wow factor gets people to change their habits, right? It's
Yeah.
not just another tool. So a lot of technology providers would go get something off the shelf, say we're using this product, we're rolling it out. When you work in Silicon Valley, which is where I worked for a while, and then you try to build a tech company who's going to change an industry. Literally everything is about that user experience. Because the minute a user has a wow factor, they're going to say, I want to use that more, right? So it's not just about, hey, we're going to bring this tool and you're going to adopt this tool. Good change management does that, but if you bring something that's so much better and makes their life easier, that's what tech companies build billions of dollars on, right? So I think it's an interesting point of, well, we could have done it, but even tech companies only get that from their early adopters, from their users, to understand what is those wow triggers that we can do. Which, I can promote Kodaris a little bit here, that's the secret of a lot of what we do is working with customers directly to say, well, you're trying to do this, Jeremy, what wow factor do you need to drive 90% adoption? Because that's huge. That makes or breaks the whole program. Because if you got 20% adoption, you're not going to get a second chance at that very often. So when you have your champions you start with, and they say, this is really cool, this is wow, and then you take that to a huge group and they're taking it and saying, look at this cool stuff.
Yeah.
The same concept for tech companies building something and saying, back in the expense reporting days, it used to be, I could take a picture and magically my data shows up on my expense report. That was like the holy grail, from compiling a spreadsheet, typing it all in, submitting a spreadsheet, right? So, so I think just in the realm of change management, technology people who are supporting change management, you have to keep that in mind. We want our workforce to change and adopt these tools, but are we just saying change because you need to, because I got the solution? Or are we providing something that they're like, wow, I'd love to use that? And I think you did it. It was something that we want to support, that we want to learn, that we want to improve as Kodaris, but it's also really neat to see, our internal partners at distributors being able to deliver something like that.
Yeah, I think one of the interesting things is I wasn't sure how it was going to take off. Let's be honest. I was kind of like, man, I really hope this takes off, and it did. And to see age groups from early 30s to late 60s utilizing the app and utilizing the tools was very interesting. I was not expecting that, but it was awesome. It was great. And I think that shows something. Um, but then, there's also some reps that haven't fully bought in yet, and it's that continual training though, that continual check-in, re-encouraging. I just had a conversation with one of our top sales reps who was one of the beta testers yesterday, and I just said, hey, how's things going with Kodaris? And this guy, every time he talks to me, he like just praises Kodaris. He's like, man, this is awesome. This is the best thing. He's like, anyone that's not using Kodaris, let me know. I'll talk to him and I'll just set him straight. And it's it's really encouraging to hear that from our side that's developing it and rolling it out and put a lot of time into it, that the tools are being used and they want to be used, and they're actually helping someone do their job, especially in a sales role, who's driving business to our business, to be honest. So, I think that piece and that continuous training. And so if there's things that I've learned too from this process and this rollout is you can't just do one training and let it go. And so I did an end of the year training. I keep talking about it every time I see a sales rep. I keep talking about it. And it's that you have to keep bringing it up, because if you don't keep bringing it up, it's going to be out of sight, out of mind potentially for some of those that haven't bought into it yet. And that's how you get the buy-in, I think, is every event that I've gone to, every group that I've been a part of for like sales meetings, I always make sure to bring up, hey, are you using this Kodaris app? If not, like, how can I help? And just last night, a guy that I talked to a month and a half ago who wasn't using Kodaris quite yet, I saw him place an order through the Kodaris app, and I just emailed him and say, hey, saw you place your first order. Like, how's it going? And he's like, man, after we had that conversation like a month and a half ago, I've just been using it nonstop, and it's great. And I appreciate you spending the time to help, keep training with me. And so I think that's part of that, that I've learned, is that just you have to have that continual reinforcement nonstop if you want to have something succeed.
Yeah, I always say repetition doesn't ruin the prayer, but I've said it so often that probably people roll their eyes at it. But I think that's a core theme is just continuous communication.
There's also an interesting side effect about that besides communication. I know when you have those quarterly meetings or trainings, people know they're going to have to go, and you're probably going to ask them, how's it going? So they're like, oh, I haven't done it. I need to jump in because I got that training next week, right?
Yeah.
Jeremy's going to be on my case.
Yeah.
I know, and we even externally to customers, when you're trying to drive adoption on a commerce platform, and on another podcast we'll probably talk about knowing your customer, but we used to go visit customers with them, sit down, ask them questions, show them tools, understand their business, how it interacts, and then we line up a 30-day check-in to say, hey, we're going to go configure a few things for you. We're just going to come back, check in, see if it's working for you. You'd be amazed at the amount of times customers would say, I knew you were coming, so I was working on this, and I need a little help with this. But then after you visit them 3-4 times, they're using the tool. And it was simply that you cared, you wanted to understand if they were having issues, but they were going to have to meet you in person.
Yeah.
And, unless they were just rude and canceled, they would do something to have something to say. So it's a very low-key, non-confrontational way to say, are you doing this because you're saying, how do I help you do it? Is it working correctly? I want to make sure our product's working correctly for you. And I think that's a kind of interesting change management tool you can use to say continuous training, continuous help, but it also kind of nudges the people to use the tool, at least to try it, so they have some feedback to give. And we all know once we do something a couple times, then we just start doing it if it's easier, right? I know that one of the first times early on, I'm not going to tell you how many years ago that I was running a warehouse. Online ordering was just coming out, and it's like, well, I just caught it, and it's habit. Walk around the warehouse with your headset on, placing the order until I needed something urgent off hours. And they said if you order by 6 p.m., although the phone shut off at 4 p.m., you can place it online. It goes out the next day. It only took one time, and then
Yep.
I ordered everything online.
Yeah, I think this is an interesting thing too, though, Tony. Like, I think the opposite of that is also true, right? If the first time you try something and it's a terrible experience, the activation energy to get somebody to do it again is much harder than even to try something for a first time, right? And so I think that's like the interesting thread of Jeremy saying, okay, well, we could roll this out, but we're going to work on this for a couple more weeks and make sure that it's a spectacular experience. Because if somebody goes in and has a frustrating experience, they'll never try it again, you know?
Yeah, and it's been it's been an interesting ride over these last handful of months because, like Tony said, I'm continuing to work with the Kodaris team, give them feedback on like the mobile app, and the Kodaris team is continuing to roll out improvements and changes. But I just talked to a sales rep the other day too about it, and I was like, yeah, sorry, it's kind of taking a little bit longer to get this feature. We're working on it. And he's like, oh, I didn't even feel like it was the long time. I just feel like there's updates, every time I go on there. And so it's because of the positive mindset that was set up right from the get-go. I don't think that there's not this like thought of, oh, this is taking so long to get this fix or this feature launched, because there's such positivity around it that they don't even notice that it's been. To me, I'm like, yeah, come on, let's go, let's get this done. But like to them, it's like, oh, it's been a month since you told me that you're working on this feature. But then when it gets rolled out, it's tested and it's great, and then they don't even notice that it's been a month since they asked for that. Or if it takes that long, like if it's a big thing we're doing or something, they don't even notice that it takes a decent amount of time to get something pushed through. So that helps. And real quick, one of the things that Tony said, um, I wanted to touch on it because we didn't mandate that these sales reps had to use this tool. I offered it to and said, hey, look, I think I got something that you guys would be interested in. We have some sales reps using it. You know, let's see if it's good for you guys. And so nowhere yet has it been mandated that you have to use Kodaris. It's all been word of mouth. It's all been trainings. And there's been questions asked to me like, hey, am I supposed to be using this every day, or can I use Info, or can I use CSD still? And I'm like, yeah, if that's what you find, you know, comfortable to you right now. But I always say, but you should check out Kodaris and you should try it and you should see how fast it is. And here's all the things why I think you should use it. And then it's that slow adoption. But I think that's also helps to not say you have to use Kodaris. This is the tool you're using. Get in there and learn it and use it. And so I think that non-mandate, but peer support and peer pressure has led to a positive experience for our sales reps.
Yeah, carrots, not sticks, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think the first experiencing, and that's another change management process that IT folks, we have to keep in mind that we should log in, use it, understand what the user has to do, how many clicks it takes. It's something as a product designer that I preach to my team is if you watch a user use it and you wouldn't want to use it, don't expect your users to use it. There's only one way to get the fastest way to improve something is to make an engineer do something 3 times the same way.
Yeah.
So, but I think, testing and understanding your user use case, actually learning what they have to do. Because then when they ask a question and say, this doesn't work, or how do I do this? You have the answer, or you're saying you can explain why this is easier versus what you do today. Because those age-old thing of, well, that's how we do it today, which was interesting. Your initial use case, we get that all the time. Hey, we're used to logging in as our customers and placing orders for them on the website. And for cybersecurity and many reasons, we don't we don't allow that. But think about the journey of, oh, okay, we'll support that versus this whole CRM tool that's now on a mobile device. They get confidential information you never show your customer. I think it really goes back to thinking through your business and the technology and what's a big outcome you want. The sales, the management side of me says, okay, well, it'd be great if we could measure, which we can. We just, but now that they're all using it, can we measure, are people more productive? Is there less calls to the office? Is there sales up for reps who are heavily using it versus non-heavily using it? Not to mandate, but to also, to your point, positive peer pressure and data points. I know
Yeah.
a year ago we had time. We struggled to track a metric every day we needed. That was really what the time people were spending in certain areas. Not because they were in trouble, because we need to know how to improve our workflow to engineer faster, and had pretty low participation. So we put a dashboard up in an all hands meeting every single day to show who did it, who didn't. We didn't have to talk to anybody. 7 days, everybody was doing it, right? Because they didn't want to be the laggard. So it's interesting too, just data points and change management, positive peer pressure about, oh, my counterparts are doing it, or my counterparts are selling more, or I have happier customers.
Yeah, I think I was in a group meeting at a recap with the sales reps, and one of the guys did speak up and say, "Why? Like, why aren't you using it?" And it was just kind of like, I mean, it wasn't the right time and place to have that conversation, but it was still interesting because you had a power user that is adopted, and then you have some that haven't fully adopted, and they're asking all their peers, saying like, "Why? Like, why don't you want to do this? Why do you want to call the store to get that? Why do you want to send that information?" And like, you can do it right then and there. Um, and I think, some more sidebar conversations happen, but you do have some of those guys that see the positivity of it and the tools to help you. And so I did reach out to some of those power users and had some great conversations with them, and pretty much the collective agreement was that they for sure have less call. Absolutely was the word when they have less calls to branches. That they don't have to call a store, they don't have to wait, they can do it right then and there, and they all have felt that it's caused less frustration standing face to face with customers because it has always been, and this is coming from them saying, well, I have to, let me get home. I'll email the store, I'll call the store, I'll get your pricing, I'll get the availability, I'll get you put your quote together. And now that's changed. That's changed to, hey, hold on, let me pull this up right here, get it to you. And the customers are less frustrated. And what I've heard from some of the guys is that they've been able to upsell, cross sell, add on right there in front of their customers. I mean, one of the sales reps just told me yesterday that he was just about done with this conversation, closing a deal with a customer, and a customer said, "Hey, I was thinking about ordering this from you guys, but I'm not sure. Can you get me pricing on this?" And he pulled it up right then and there, did the calculations, made the right change to the price of the product, and he was able to add on X amount of sale to his sale. Where I asked him, "So do you think you would have closed that sale if you would have had to say, let me go home, call the store, send you an email a couple hours later?" He said, "Probably not, because that customer is going to think on it. That customer is going to say, I don't know." And so they all kind of collectively said, you're making that customer make a decision right there in front of your face. And one guy was like, "People don't want to say no to you," which, I mean, I think that's that's a natural habit. And so if you can give them that information right there in seconds, not minutes, I think it can help most sales, or potentially help a lot of sales close, and also, like I said, upsell or add on. And so just that tool right there in front of them, they do think that, at least these guys think that it's been able to help service their customers at a higher level. And I think that was really great to hear.
That's awesome. The point I'll pull out of there is speed does matter in sales. I know that we've had customers who use our quote automation, and when it went from 2 hours to 5 minutes, they know that the customer just said, "I'm just taking your numbers. Somebody may be a little better, but I don't have to wait hours."
Yep.
That's pretty awesome to hear this to figure they're standing in front of them, and because of their speed, the customer is not going to shop around. The customer is not going to go look at things because they don't want to say no, but because I get the answer now and
Yep.
it's done, I can move on. So you're actually providing value to the customer, not even just making a sale, because now they can go on with their work. They don't have to shop. They don't have to wait. And I think that's interesting about B2B. Probably B2C doesn't matter as much, but in B2B, your customers are running businesses. The
Yep.
faster they can move through their process, the easier their life is. So that's cool. The other thing that you mentioned early on, I kind of remembered as you were talking, was the email notifications, or there's other notifications of not only going to customers, but sales reps many times want to know when their customer places an order, which we support, whether it's let's say they called the branch or they place it online. Something you don't think about CRM, but if you're true CRM, the sales reps getting alerts and understanding what their customer is ordering when in real time. Lots of times I know sales reps will check the order, make sure the customer is ordering what they want. Because as value added sales reps, you're helping that customer choose the best products, be the product consultant, right? It's the value add that the sales reps provide in distribution. We know that. Different than, hey, we're going to send marketing emails, or I got to record what my customer is interested in. If I help that customer choose correctly, we know that also there's a service level there of, oh, I didn't get the wrong part. Now I got to send it back. Now I got to do this. Now I got to wait. My job's behind, or my installs behind. Even little things like that, and mapping that out is, I think it's amazing how much little things can make a difference in sales and service levels and
in change management.
yeah, outside the traditional reference point of CRM and sales discussions.
Yeah, I think that the order confirmations is, he asks the question of like why, I'm always being asked, and it's good. I always ask myself too, is like, why does a sales rep need to see that confirmation so fast? And it, I understand both sides of the street. But from the sales side, just everything that I've heard, it's like it's because they want to see that, they want to understand, and they want to help. They want to help that customer make sure, like you said, make sure that they're ordering the right product quickly, before the order gets processed, or before, we transfer in some wrong product and things like that. Especially with our online store and a lot of customers adopting that, it's it's a comfort level. I think I would be in the same position if I was a sales rep, where I would want to understand, like, okay, I just talked to that customer on the phone and he just verified some stuff. Did he actually place an order, before having to wait till like your reporting software updates at nighttime, or you don't have access to CSD? And so now these guys that are very, let's just say, anal about their reviewing orders, not only can they get the order confirmation right away from Kodaris, but they can also log into Kodaris, see what they're ordering, check the statuses, and just really be on top of some of those critical orders for some of those critical customers. Because now a sales rep can log into Kodaris, see the orders, the order numbers, see the status, and have better conversations with a store personnel, and the conversation is faster, because now they can say, all right, I have a question about this order, it's in the X stage, like, what's going on with it? And so instead of saying, well, I think customer placed this order at this time, can you find it, and then what's the status of it, there's education on the sales rep side that helps the store personnel, which is the backbone of the business, getting the product out the door to the customer. It helps the conversations, and then that 15-minute conversation with possibly a customer at the counter now is turned into a couple-minute conversation and everyone is back to work. I think it also does help. The CRM has helped from the store level as well. And so I think that's just something good to touch on. Like, it's affecting all pieces of the business and not just the sales piece of it.
Yeah, it's well, it goes back to how we built the CRM, right? It's the business driving it, operations driving it, the pain points of customers like, Reinders and other folks explaining their operations and working with us to craft a product. I mean, all that just almost gives me goosebumps, and I think about what else can we automate or make faster, right? And at the end of the day, if you're an executive and you're thinking about those things, honestly, you're thinking, okay, so I need less store personnel. I had a sales rep, but now I need less store personnel to support them. I can have more people shipping and, or putting together orders, servicing customers. We can do more sales at a higher volume with less people, which is what this is all about, but not let our service levels drop. Tying all those operational pieces together with the software everybody's using, I think is a theme of ours this year. One customer success platform, one ERP, because what you're describing, more and more of our customers are starting to see and drive towards that. You can have a Salesforce CRM, it's not going to do what you just described, right? There's delayed integrations, there's data, there's all these different things. A tightly coupled platform with your ERP makes a huge difference in real time. And I think those are just even side effects that turn into real dollars. And the more people adopt, the more you save. So going back, tying it all the way back to, hey, we're going to do this. We're not going to force adoption, but good change management, better technology ripples across the business. And then, of course, also probably has a ripple effect on when you bring the next tool and you say, we're going to add this piece for you. People are going to say, oh, well, the last time it was great. So what is this piece? Really interesting.
I think that is what I'm looking forward to now is continuing this relationship with the sales reps and keeping the positivity high so when we are ready to roll out that next feature, or Kodaris comes out with another enhancement, that it's just an easy buy-in and that people are excited, and I think the excitement is there. And every time I talk to certain reps and say, all right, we just added this piece to the mobile app, it's like, all right, cool, I'm on there, I'm checking it out. A lot of it too, I think, is about momentum and then change management. It's keeping the momentum, not letting off the gas, even though I think all of us on the call, we're all super busy and we all have 60 million things going on. It's just keeping in the back of your mind that this type of project is something that you might not have time to keep the momentum going every day or even every week, but at least like on a 3 to 4 week basis, you just do check-ins and you just keep the momentum going, you keep the encouragement going. And yeah, I think that's what I've learned, and that's been probably part of the success of this, is that one, I'm passionate about it, so I like to I'm high energized when I talk about it and see the benefits. And so if you have someone that can learn the tool, drive the tool, be energized, I think for any product, any technology, you need teams or someone internally that can help deliver an excitement, and then that excitement, it's like a virus, it just keeps going across everyone else. So that's what I've learned, and that's kind of my takeaway from this.
I think there's an interesting thread too, going back to our previous episode with Munever, is like there's this thread of trust and building trust in all of this, right? And so even in change management, you have to, if you're promising that this technology is a better way, It has to actually be a better way, or else it's not going to happen. And that increase in trust of fulfilling that promise of like, this is a better way to work. You're going to be faster. You're going to make more money. You're going to, have all of the business outcomes that we want. Then helps the next time that you're going to ask for them to be willing to trust you that there's another better way in the future.
Last point, wrapping up, I'll just say passion is contagious. It means you believe in it. You've used it. I think IT folks can take a page out of that book, because if you're just going through your job and you're not passionate about it, you're not supporting it, you're not, then why would you expect anybody else to, right? And so I think that's critical, and that's great. So super relevant point in change management as well.
Got to be the cheerleader.
Yeah. Yes.
Awesome. Well, Jeremy, thank you so much. I think this was really helpful for folks to think about as they're introducing any new technology into their business.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it. I love talking about it, obviously, and I get excited talking about it. So, yeah, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us this week on the Kodaris Community Show. We'll see you back next time.